After decades of silence, former royal chef Darren McGrady, now 63, has finally spoken out, exposing Queen Camilla's shocking behavior behind palace walls. From humiliating staff to secret power plays, his revelations are shaking the monarchy to its core. The truth Diana's allies held back is now unleashed. The breaking moment. Chef speaks. After decades of silence. At 63 years old, former royal chef Darren McGrady has finally done what many thought he never would. He spoke out, and not just about palace life, but about Queen Camilla herself. In a powerful sit-down interview aired earlier this year, McGrady opened up for the first time about what he calls the truth behind the facade. Calm but deliberate, his words shocked even hardened royal reporters. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't sensationalize. But the weight of his words landed hard. According to McGrady, his decision to speak now came from a sense of moral responsibility. After decades of watching Camilla's image transform from tabloid villain to respected consort, he felt history was being rewritten, and he could no longer stay silent. The moment wasn't just a media event, it felt like the undoing of years of careful palace messaging. Royal commentators reacted instantly. Social media exploded. Longtime royal fans, especially supporters of the late Princess Diana, felt vindicated. Others accused McGrady of stirring old drama. But what stood out wasn't just what he said, it was who said it and when. This was not a bitter outsider. This was a man who had served Diana, Queen Elizabeth, and Charles. A trusted hand from inside the walls. Why now? McGrady himself answered that. I've waited long enough. Too many people have been silenced for too long. It's time the public knew what really happened behind those doors. He didn't give everything away in one sitting, but he gave just enough to reignite an old fire, a narrative many thought had been buried with Diana herself. His tone was neither emotional nor theatrical. It was clear, controlled, and that's what made it more powerful. It wasn't a tell-all, it was a warning shot. One that made headlines across the globe and triggered a storm the palace was not ready for. Who is this chef? His royal credentials and backstory. Darren McGrady is no ordinary royal insider. He's a man who spent 15 years working inside the most private quarters of Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. First as Queen Elizabeth II's personal chef, and later as Princess Diana's trusted kitchen confidant. His career placed him closer to the royals than most ever get. He didn't just cook for them. He traveled with them. He heard what others missed. And unlike commentators or biographers, he lived inside the palace during some of its most turbulent years. McGrady joined the royal kitchen in the late 1980s and quickly rose through the ranks. He cooked everything from formal banquets to Diana's simple low-calorie meals. Over time, he became known for his discretion and devotion, especially to Diana and her children. Even after Diana's tragic death in 1997, McGrady remained largely silent. In interviews over the years, he shared light-hearted memories, like Prince William's favorite desserts or the Queen's strict dining preferences. But never anything controversial, never anything personal about Camilla. That's why this moment matters. For decades, McGrady has been respected for his silence. He had access. He chose restraint. And now, at 63, that silence has broken. What sets him apart is not just his title or experience, but his credibility. He was there, in the kitchens, in the corridors, during divorces, scandals, and power shifts. He wasn't reading royal stories, he was feeding them, literally and figuratively. He's previously published books about royal cuisine, but nothing that would be considered damaging. Now, it appears something has shifted. Perhaps it's time. Perhaps it's regret. Or maybe it's simply that he believes Diana's memory deserves better than the version being upheld today. What makes McGrady's revelation so compelling is that he doesn't sound bitter. He sounds tired of the lies, of the spin, of the false narratives. And when a man who's held royal secrets for over 30 years decides to speak, the world listens. What he claims, the evil deeds he exposed. For years, Camilla Parker Bowles, now Queen Camilla, has enjoyed a carefully crafted public image. Supportive, steady, loyal. But according to Darren McGrady, behind the palace doors, that persona couldn't have been further from reality. And now he's pulling back the curtain on what he calls her cold, controlling behavior toward palace staff, including himself. In his words, Camilla treated the help like they were beneath her. McGrady claims she was dismissive, sharp-tongued, and emotionally brutal, especially when no senior royals were watching. He described how she would demand changes at the last minute, criticize junior staff in front of others, and even mock those who made innocent mistakes. According to him, Camilla never lost her temper. But she didn't need to. Her passive-aggressive digs, sudden silences, and unspoken intimidation were enough to keep staff constantly anxious. He recalled one particular evening at Highgrove, where Camilla allegedly threw an entire dinner arrangement into chaos after disapproving of the flower placement. She didn't address the staff directly. Instead, she complained to Charles, who then relayed the criticism down the line. McGrady called it a culture of indirect cruelty. He also alleged that Camilla's mealtime demands were often unreasonable. Last-minute menu changes, refusals to eat what was served, and personal jabs if the food wasn't perfect. This from someone who never held an official royal title at the time. Most telling, McGrady claimed Camilla made it her mission to assert dominance in Diana's absence, particularly after the Princess of Wales left royal life in the mid-90s. She needed to prove she belonged, he said, and she did it by pushing people around. He didn't give names of others who were mistreated, but he hinted that he wasn't alone. Others, he says, simply won't speak, for fear of backlash or out of contractual obligation. He also made it clear, Camilla's public charm, her smiles for the cameras were all a performance. And now that she's queen consort, McGrady warned, the mask may never slip again. But that doesn't mean it was never there. Camilla's image versus his depiction. Queen Camilla has spent nearly 2 decades carefully rebuilding her public image. From being labeled the other woman during Charles and Diana's marriage, she transformed into what many now see as a loyal, dutiful, and respected consort. But Darren McGrady's testimony shatters that image and exposes a striking contrast. According to McGrady, the Camilla presented to the world is not the one who existed behind closed doors. Her public persona, warm, witty, charitable, is, in his words, an act polished over years of media training. He described a woman who was never rude in front of the cameras, but behind them could make staff feel small, disposable, and invisible. This contrast is what's shaking royal watchers. For the public, Camilla had seemingly crossed the line into acceptance. She was crowned beside Charles. She attended public events with grace. Even Queen Elizabeth II gave her blessing before her death. And yet, McGrady's depiction calls it all into question. Can both versions be true? Royal loyalists argue McGrady's account is outdated, bitter, or exaggerated. But those who've long defended Princess Diana see this as confirmation of what was always suspected, that Camilla rose in status while others were pushed down, quietly and deliberately. What makes this moment more volatile is the emotional investment people have in both women. Diana was the people's princess. Camilla was once cast as the villain. The public forgave, but only barely. McGrady's words threaten to unravel that forgiveness. The palace has not issued any denial, and the silence is only fueling speculation. As one commentator put it, if Camilla's version is the real one, why not defend it? Right now, the public is split. One version of Camilla is the strong, modern queen who weathered scandal and emerged stronger. The other is the cold, calculating figure McGrady describes, a woman who quietly climbed the ladder by stepping on those beneath her. The truth may never be confirmed fully, but the damage is done, because now the public has seen a crack in the crown, and questions are being asked that the palace may no longer be able to silence. Why he now? Motivations for speaking up at 63. Why now? That's the question everyone is asking. Why, after decades of silence, would Darren McGrady choose this moment, at 63 years old, to expose what he calls Camilla's cruel, calculated behavior behind palace walls? According to McGrady himself, it comes down to conscience and legacy. "I've held these stories for too long," he said. "I was loyal. I was quiet. But I can't pretend anymore that everything inside that palace was as graceful as the outside made it seem." He spoke with the calm of a man who has nothing left to lose and everything to make right. After a lifetime of service, McGrady says he wants to correct what he sees as a whitewashed version of history, especially where it concerns Princess Diana. He hinted that part of his silence was out of fear of contracts, backlash, and losing his professional standing. But now, he says, "I'm not afraid. I'm old enough to tell the truth." There may also be external factors. Rumors swirl that McGrady is working on a new memoir, possibly timed with the growing public interest in royal insiders. Another theory is that a documentary deal has been signed, and this was the opening shot. But most compelling is the emotional weight behind his words. He seems to be speaking not for fame, but for Diana, whose memory, he feels, has been buried beneath royal spin and Camilla's rise to power. Diana deserved better, he said. She was kind, honest, flawed, and real. And I can't sit by while those who hurt her wear crowns and play innocent. It's also possible that McGrady simply sees the clock ticking. With Charles and Camilla now in power and a new generation rising behind them, he may feel this is his last chance to add his truth to the record before it's sealed permanently in public memory. Whatever the trigger, the timing is no accident. And the effect? Immediate, widespread, and impossible to ignore. Insider credibility and doubts. Darren McGrady isn't just any former employee. He's a man who lived within the palace, day in and day out, during some of the royal family's most turbulent years. His credibility is rooted in proximity. He saw what few outsiders ever could. But not everyone is convinced his words should go unchallenged. Some critics argue McGrady has selective memory. While his reputation has remained largely untarnished, skeptics say it's easy to speak out decades later, when most key witnesses have either passed or moved on. Others say his account lacks solid evidence. No recordings, no written statements, no other names. just his word. Still, his career speaks volumes. He cooked for Queen Elizabeth, served Princess Diana, and was present during Charles and Camilla's early years. That kind of access can't be dismissed lightly. But palace allies are already pushing back quietly. Anonymous sources close to Camilla describe her as firm but fair, and claim McGrady is looking for attention. Some even suggest his stories are exaggerated or based on hearsay. Emotional impressions, not facts. Yet, supporters of McGrady point out that he's never courted controversy before. He's had plenty of chances to cash in on scandal, and didn't. That restraint, they say, makes this moment even more believable. Another factor complicating the story is the absence of corroboration. No other former staff have come forward, yet. But insiders note that most are bound by strict non-disclosure agreements, and some still rely on the palace for pensions, housing, or professional status. That leaves McGrady in a lonely position, a lone voice, but one with history on his side. Fact-checkers are already combing through timelines and cross-referencing past statements, trying to connect the dots. So far, there's no concrete contradiction, but no official support either. The big question now is whether others will back him, or whether the palace's silence will let doubts grow louder. "I know what I saw," McGrady said, "and I'm not the only one." In the end, it's a battle of trust. A former royal servant with nothing to gain, or a palace desperate to keep the past buried. Reactions: Royal Household, Camilla, and Allies. The royal household's response to Darren McGrady's claims has been carefully calculated. Near total silence. No official statement from Queen Camilla, no comments from King Charles, and certainly no direct rebuttal. But insiders say the palace is far from calm. Behind the scenes, this has triggered what one aide called a full-scale containment operation. So far, Camilla's office has reportedly issued strict instructions to all staff. No press interactions, no leaks, no acknowledgement. This silence is deliberate. The palace's long-standing approach to scandal, never complain, never explain, is being tested again. According to those close to Charles, he's furious that this is surfacing now, at a time when he's trying to maintain royal unity and public trust in the crown. He allegedly feels betrayed, not just by McGrady, but by the narrative that paints Camilla as cruel after years of carefully managed public appearances. There's tension among courtiers, too. Some veteran aides reportedly believe McGrady's words carry weight and are worried more stories may emerge. Others are treating it as a disgruntled former employee seeking relevance. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine have made no public gesture in Camilla's defense. Their silence is being read in many ways, either as quiet support for Charles and Camilla, or as strategic distancing from a storm they never wanted to be pulled into. One interesting reaction has come from former palace staff off the record, a mix of support and caution. Some are quietly saying, "He's not wrong," while others warn that this is just the tip of what people have held in for years. As for Camilla herself, friends say she's shaken but not surprised. According to a source close to her circle, she always knew Diana's people held deep loyalty, and this may be the beginning of a wave. Whether or not she addresses it, the damage is done. And the palace's silence? It's starting to sound loud. Media frenzy and public opinion shift. The media didn't just pick up McGrady's comments, they ran with them like wildfire. Within 24 hours of his interview airing, headlines exploded across the UK, US, Australia, and Canada. Words like tyrant, ice queen, and two-faced began appearing beside Camilla's name, reigniting old public wounds from the Diana era. Clips of McGrady's statements began trending instantly on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Some users edited his voice over footage of Camilla during royal engagements, juxtaposing kindness with coldness. The result? A powerful emotional contrast that quickly shifted public mood. Polls started circulating online. One major outlet asked, "Do you believe Darren McGrady's version of events?" In just 24 hours, 68% voted yes. That number shocked even seasoned royal commentators. It proved what many suspected. Camilla's acceptance was always fragile, and the public hadn't forgotten. Royal fans divided quickly. Some defended Camilla, calling it a one-sided attack from a disgruntled staffer. But many, especially those who still see Princess Diana as the people's true queen, saw this as long overdue truth-telling. The media, never slow to capitalize, began digging through McGrady's past interviews and piecing together a timeline. Suddenly, moments once seen as neutral, Camilla's awkward body language, her lack of warmth during certain events, were being reanalyzed through a darker lens. This isn't the first time an insider has broken ranks, but the timing, tone, and moral weight of McGrady's words made it feel different. This wasn't a tabloid rumor. It was a first-hand account from a man who served the royal table. Even international coverage leaned in. French and German media questioned how this could affect Charles and Camilla's reputation abroad, particularly in Commonwealth nations already skeptical of the monarchy. "This is not just a story about palace kitchens," one journalist wrote. "This is about who the crown chooses to protect and who it silences." Now, Camilla's PR team is in overdrive, but the narrative has slipped out of their hands. Once social media decides what the story is, no royal press office can rewrite it. And as one viral tweet put it bluntly, "We always knew. He just finally said it." Consequences for Camilla's reputation and role. For years, Queen Camilla worked carefully, step by step, to earn public trust. But with one interview, that foundation has cracked. Darren McGrady's revelations didn't just stir gossip. They hit the core of Camilla's moral authority, and the fallout is far from over. Already there are whispers among royal advisors about her future role. Though unlikely to be removed as queen consort, insiders admit her public standing has taken a massive hit. Patronages are under review. Several charities, particularly those focused on mental health and domestic support, have reportedly asked for reassurance behind closed doors about her conduct and values. This isn't about protocol, it's about perception. Camilla's image was always a recovery story, the woman who stood by Charles through scandal and earned her place. But now, the public is being asked to reconsider who she really is. And for many, McGrady's claims feel like the mask slipping at last. There's also concern about international perception. Commonwealth nations, already questioning ties to the monarchy, may find it harder to accept Camilla as a global representative. Some media outlets in Australia and Jamaica have reignited calls to remove the British monarch as head of state altogether. Within the UK, younger generations, who didn't grow up with Diana, but discovered her through documentaries and media, are voicing strong disapproval online. In their eyes, this isn't a dated scandal. It's a live test of character. As one royal historian put it, the crown can survive scandal, but not if the wrong people are wearing it. Camilla may still wear the crown, but the glow around it? That's beginning to fade. Next moves and what to watch. With the palace deep in damage control mode, one question now haunts the royal corridors. What happens next? Darren McGrady has spoken once, but there's no sign he's done. In fact, insiders say he may be just getting started. Whispers are growing louder about a potential tell-all memoir, reportedly years in the making. If true, it could include more names, detailed timelines, personal diaries, and even witness corroboration from other former staffers who've remained silent until now. That's what truly terrifies the palace. Not just one man's accusations, but the possibility of a domino effect. Because McGrady's decision to speak has shattered an unspoken wall inside royal service, one built on loyalty, fear, and silence. Now, others who endured similar treatment from Camilla or witnessed behavior they buried out of duty may feel this is their moment. If even one voice supports McGrady's account, the narrative shifts from "he said" to "they said." And at that point, Camilla's position becomes dangerously unstable. Then there's the legal question. Rumors from palace legal aides suggest Camilla's team is debating whether to issue a formal legal warning against McGrady for defamation. But the risks are enormous. Pursuing him in court could force Camilla's camp to disclose internal communications, defend her behavior under oath, and potentially spark further leaks. On the other hand, staying silent carries its own risks. It looks like guilt. So far, Camilla has chosen silence. But that silence is beginning to speak volumes. Every day she doesn't deny or address the allegations, the court of public opinion keeps swinging against her. Her next move is critical. A public denial? It may sound defensive. An apology? It would be seen as an admission. A sit-down interview? It could either humanize her or destroy what little trust remains. The palace is walking a tightrope, and there's no safety net below. Then comes King Charles. Can he protect the monarchy and defend his wife without alienating the people? His advisors are reportedly split, some urging a private reconciliation strategy, others pushing for full damage control. And what about Prince William? His silence has been strategic so far, but it can't last forever. If William distances himself, the internal power dynamic could shift permanently. A royal rift, quietly brewing for years, could finally explode into public view. Behind the palace walls, there's panic. Inside the media, there's fire. And among the public, there's one unshakable truth. The crown is no longer in control of the story. This isn't just a PR crisis, said one palace aide. It's a reckoning. And it's only beginning. Right now, the world is watching. And this time, the monarchy isn't the narrator. Darren McGrady is. This isn't just royal gossip. It's a direct challenge to the carefully built image of Queen Camilla. With McGrady breaking the silence, more voices may follow. The palace is rattled, and the public is watching. One thing is clear. The real story behind the crown is no longer staying hidden.